Hurrah! We have some blue sky at last. It's been very wet here in the UK. So much rain for the past couple of weeks. Some localised flooding too, coupled with a storm that we had. Yeah, we do okay here actually when it rains quite a lot. We don't get flooded. I hope everything's okay where you've been. Our beds are all no dig, which helps with drainage, but I just think in general our allotment is, the soil must be good for drainage here because we don't have a problem with flooding at all, thankfully. Now today and tomorrow and the next day we're going to be having some beautiful sunny days, lots of blue skies, but with that is going to come cold temperatures. It's currently 2 degrees and overnight temperatures we're going to be looking at -3 for the next couple of nights. We've just put out a video on a November tour of the allotment, and if you want to go and check that out, you can see everything that we're growing, most of which is frost hardy. So we're going to be expecting a bit of snow over the next couple of nights, we think. These crops will do absolutely fine with them: swede, Brussels, parsnips, etc. We also have other crops in the greenhouse that are less frost hardy, but they are still to some extent. We're talking about salads, meteor peas, a variety called meteor, that are overwintering pea. They are hardy. We're currently doing a video on overwintering peas from sowing through to harvest, and that should be published in May. We've taken some of those peas home and put them on the windowsill as much as we can. We don't have a lot of space at home, but everything else is going to have to stay in the greenhouse. The salads we grow in crates, and we're going to put them into the greenhouse. There won't be much room, but it keeps them away from the snow. We've also have growing in the greenhouse pak-choi. We've also just done a video on pak-choi if you want to see how we grow pak-choi and the reason why we grow in buckets. There's no room at all to take them home. They're going to have to stay in the greenhouse, and if they survive, they survive, and if they don't, they don't. We're quite lucky here because there's a guy who is a tree surgeon, and he regularly dumps a load of wood chip for any of us to come and collect. So we've taken a couple of bags, and I wanted to show you 3 ways that we use wood chip in our allotment. You can see the main path running down to the entrance. Yeah, it is a wood chip path, but it's looking quite muddy in places, and this hasn't been topped up now for well over a year, especially with all the rain that we've had. It's looking a little bit soggy and could do with topping up. So first job is going to top up the path, so let's get cracking. Is it really 2 degrees? Oh, I'm warm after that. As it turned out, that bag that we collected, that was full, the builder's bag, perfect quantity for this path. There's a couple of things to consider when you're laying wood chip paths. The first is the thickness. If you make it too thick, you got to make it easier for slugs to find a home. So you don't want it too thick. The second is that ideally, if you can, you just want 100% wood chip. The bag we've just collected, that I've just spread just now, there's quite a lot of conifer and leaves mixed in with the wood chip. They're going to compost down quite quickly, and we might therefore be walking on a mixture of wood chip and compost pretty soon. Ideally, you just want wood chip, like what we can see down at the entrance, which I haven't topped up because we did that a few months ago with the last batch that was delivered, and that's just pure wood chip. You can see the difference. Obviously, we're really grateful for any wood chip we can get our hands on. It is all free at the end of the day. I just want to talk about the next way we use wood chip in our allotment, and that is to suppress weeds. The section of the allotment I'm standing in front of right now, when we took the allotment, there was some kind of structure here. Not sure exactly what it was. It was a dilapidated wooden structure with tarpaulin and so much broken glass. You can see this mound here next to me is the last remaining part that we attempted to tidy up. There's so much broken glass in here. I don't think we're ever going to remove every piece of broken glass. What I'm standing in front of now is a greenhouse without the glass, just the frame, and we've put chicken wire around it, and inside here are blueberries. Blueberries need a special compost called ericaceous compost. They won't grow if you just grow them in the ground normal soil, hence they're in buckets. That's the usual way to grow them, and protected from birds. But what we've done here is had slabs down and a little bit of wood chip in the middle, and that's really sort of covered up what was underneath, which was the broken glass and little bits of tarpaulin, etc. Not ideal, but it wasn't it wasn't a great area. You can see at the back, over summer we actually put some wood chip, that's pure wood chip, and you can see what a great job it's done of suppressing weeds. That area at the back there was exactly the same as this area next to me here. You can see, if we do a close-up now and see what's in this patch here, we've got all sorts of weeds, grass, dock, nettles. So what we want to do now is scoop up or dig up the last remaining mound. It is pretty frosty, so it's going to be quite tough, but we'll get rid of this into a bag, try and flatten it off as much as possible, get as much of these slabs up as we can, and smother the entire area with wood chip. Let's get cracking. Well, you might be thinking to yourself, well, you said this was a no-dig allotment. What are you digging it over for? Well, if this was just weeds, we wouldn't have done what we just done there. There's so much rubbish in that bag. We can't compost that. There's a lot of soil, but there's so much tarpaulin, broken glass, other bits of carpet and other bits and bobs. There's still some here that I think goes onto the garden that way, that we'll come to another time. So all that's left to do now on this side is get these slabs up, and then we're just literally smothering this entire area from where I'm standing up to the compost bay with the wood chip. So let's go. Whew. So I guess we're not going to know how effective this application of mulch is until next year, because we're not really in peak weed growing season. at the moment. So I would imagine next year, spring, certainly summer, we may see some weeds start to push through. And when that does happen, we've got one of two options. We can either get a shovel and we can dig down and try and remove as much of the root as possible of the weed and pull it up that way. Or we can go and get a load more wood chip and do the exact same thing again, which probably that's the option we'll end up taking, because we've got so much wood chip in the communal area. It's free to take, so why not? We could smother it a second time and a third time. One thing I'll just say about that, about what I mentioned before when we were doing the paths, I mentioned it's probably best to have a short layer of compost for the paths so it doesn't harbour slugs. Well, clearly we're doing the exact opposite thing here. We're having a really thick layer of mulch. Will that harbour slugs? Well, it might do, but what's the priority here? Do we want to smother the weeds and potentially have a few slugs, or do we want to have a very untidy area with weeds pushing through? That's up to you to decide. We're going to carry on mulching, and if we have a few slugs, we have a few slugs. We don't have a huge problem here, to be honest. I think it's because we have no dig beds that helps with slugs, and also the wood chip paths and just the removal of places where slugs could potentially hide, like rocks and slabs, etc, etc. But yeah, just looking around now, what a difference it's made. The paths, this area here was a complete mess only a few minutes ago. One more thing I'll just say is that the bag we collected for the paths, we collected that bag yesterday, so the wood chip is a lot fresher than the bag we've just emptied here, which has actually been sat over there for about 6 weeks. So it's actually much more composted here, but that's absolutely fine. All we're looking to do is smother the weeds. It's up to you how you do that. You could either use wood chip or compost, or you could even have a big sheet of plastic if that's how you want to do it. Even slabs, anything really, just to block out the light and suppress the weeds. But I think this is looking pretty good. And talking about wood chip that has composted, that brings us on nicely to the third way which we use wood chip in our allotment, and that is to help us make compost. So I don't think it would be a good idea to use just wood chip on your no dig beds. Spread them on your beds, just wood chip, high in carbon, but it's not really high in much else. What we're looking for in the compost bay when we're making compost is a mixture of what we call green materials and brown materials. So green materials are things like, well, if we have a look in this compost bay now, we've got things like carrot tops, there's purple cabbage leaves here, all the lower leaves from all the brassicas. Basically, we keep removing the lower leaves and they go in the compost bay. We're basically talking about all leafy stuff from the allotment. That also includes brambles that we snip down over summer, and we try and cut the brambles down into sort of inch with the snippers. Or if we put a load of brambles in the compost bay, we'll just stand in the compost bay with the head shears and just snip it up with the head shears. But we're looking for small sort of inch length chunks, if you like. So as I've just mentioned, when we're doing the compost, I'm not going to talk too much about how we make the compost, because I think that's worthy of a video by itself, which we could put out over winter. But we want a layer of the green, high in nitrogen, and then we want a layer of brown. Now the brown is high in carbon. We could use cardboard for that, layers of cardboard, or wood chip. So what we're going to do now is put the wood chip as a complete layer here and spread it all out. And we want about sort of, a couple of inches, say. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got our layer of browns on top of our layer of green, and that's what we've been doing really since the start of the year. It's amazing how much it sinks though. This, when we were adding the fresh ingredients over summer, the compost bay was quite high, but it's sunk over time, and it does that, and that's absolutely fine. Just means it's turning into compost. And actually, I'm just going to show you what this turns into, because round about January time, we will turn this just with a fork into the next compost bay, so that this bay becomes empty for next year's load. We don't turn it other than that. There's no roof on this. We don't protect it from the elements. We don't turn it. We don't aerate it or anything like that. It makes really nice crumbly compost. So I think we're going to wrap this video up for today. Really hope you've enjoyed having a look around and seeing what's possible with Woodchip if you can get it, especially for free. Such a valuable resource. And just having a look now at how neat and tidy the allotment looks compared to, say, 20 minutes ago. It's great, really good for your well-being as well, just to come into the allotment and everything's just looking neat and tidy. So with all that being said, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll see you in the next one.